Hello and welcome to another episode of Layback with Betfair. I'm with Liam, Clancey and Trent Crebbin from Racing and Sports. Looking forward to getting stuck into another massive day of racing. 3 Group 1s at Caulfield, the Futurity Stakes, the Oakleigh Plate. We love that race. And of course, the Blue Diamond for the 2-year-olds. But before we get stuck into today's racing and going through the form, I want to say, how are you guys and how we go on Saturday?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Carl. Last Saturday was a little bit hit and miss. There were some strange results at Flemington. Flemington loves storing up some strange results, but especially when the rain came as well, there were some weird ones out there. I think we'll touch on some of those Betfair markets later. Got a winner in Sydney with Fango, and I think that was probably about it. So can definitely improve.
Taking on Via Sistina last week and gave a good push to Fango. It was awesome from Trent. Sorry to chop in there, Clan.
No, it's always good to see these big name horses coming back at distances short of their best. We spoke about it 2 weeks ago on the All Stakes meeting, and now we get to see them get out to those distances that are a bit more suitable to them, and we see the ratings start to go through the roof to see those peaks that we love seeing this time of year. So very exciting time of year, and there's some sleeping giants over in Sydney as well that are looking forward to getting through the carnival.
What did you make of Flemington's racing last week, Clance?
Well, yeah, it's a bit like you said. There's always those bigger price runners coming through, and I think you get focused on the top end of the market. And we're so used to playing that at the Caulfields of the world, and you get to Flemington up the big straight, and there's so many more variables. And you see a horse like Skyberg go to a new level, which was great to see, but then you start looking back in the field and you go, well, Switzerland was a fair way back, and then Growing Empire further back from there. And you start to see these sprint races open up, and maybe our stocks just aren't as strong as they usually are. So now always interesting to see those Flemington meetings. Tough to bet into. Generally speaking, I much prefer to back a few roughies at Flemington. Not to say that I backed the right ones last week, but we go again this week.
Well, Nico Noonan owes me a steak dinner. I'm thinking Gimlet because I laid Switzerland and he was very, very keen to back. To be fair, he nailed everything. I kind of talked about the variables being, want to see the horse parade. And then after everything going perfect, then you have to get luck in run. And that's exactly what Switzerland didn't get, Trent.
Yeah, it's true. I still thought he was a little bit disappointing, to be honest. And now the talk is that he's going to be dodging the Newmarket, which is a little bit of alarm bells going off for me. So, yeah, like you said, Clarence, I think these sprinting ranks, there's definitely not a standout. And, yeah, I'm not sure these 3-year-olds are quite putting their hand up yet either.
Well, I laid win and place.
Oh,
very, very happy with that. That's about the only bet I had for the day. All right, let's talk about this week's racing and the track. We just got 57 seasons last Saturday. It was sunny, it was windy, it was raining. Hey, it was a really weird day. It's hopefully going to be a little bit more consistent. We're going to be racing on a good 4. The track's out 4 meters, and we're going to get 30 plus. Like the forecast says 35 degrees. So yeah, it's going to be hot out at Caulfield. Anyone going to the races?
No, and I don't know if there'll be that many out there on the day as well, given this weather. And if you're hoping for less than last week, I don't think you're going to get it. I mean, Trent will tell you mostly about the track, but 35 degrees with some pretty strong northeasterly winds. I don't think it'll be much fun out there.
No, I will be out there doing my best. Doing a bit of journo work, and I'm not particularly looking forward to it, but I guess maybe it's better than a bit of rain at Flemington. So we'll see. The track's going to be a very interesting talking point for the meeting at Caulfield, I think.
Well, there was a little bit to complain about with the weather, so that leads straight into the lay bin. Let's get stuck into it. Clance, what are you putting in the lay bin this week?
Yeah, it's a funny one because golf handicaps are something that they're binary, right? You know exactly what they are, and then you get people come up to a corporate golf day, you chat to them in the lead up and say, look, do you have a handicap? And they said, no, I don't have a handicap. What would you normally be off around? And there's a couple that we hosted. We're over at Live Golf on last week, and we hosted a golf day on the Thursday. And this one guy, a local trainer in South Australia, goes, yeah, I'm off about 25. I haven't played in about 12 months. And we rock up on the day, and 2 blokes he was playing against that he knows very well and has played a fair bit of golf with him said, oh, what are you playing off today, Damo? He said, oh, I think I've got 25. And they laughed in his face. This guy's a 15 handicapper. You got him off 25. We got beaten by half a shot at the end of the day because we pulled his handicap back into 18. I'll tell you what, he was smoking them off the tee. So the lay-bin is these made-up golf handicaps at corporate golfing days. I just can't have them.
Yeah, I don't know why I do it the other way. I say I'm a 25 and end up shooting a 45. Trent, what are you putting in the lay bin?
Yeah, so sports related again. Footy season's coming around. We got these practice matches coming up, and just the preseason chat from trainers and players, just how every single player's trained the house down, and it just gets you after hearing the same thing over and over. And it happens in racing as well. These, like you said, these 3-year-old Switzerland and Grow Empire, they've all trialed the house down, and then they get up to the races and go no good. So yeah, I'd rather see it on the track or on the footy field before you start spruiking them. It's
really funny. I saw this Bombers meme the other day, and it was just like pre-season, get really excited for the season ahead, win the first game, and then it's like, and then fall in a hole for the rest of the season, and then do it again the following season. So yeah, it's hard now. We live in Melbourne, right? Like the weather's starting to turn now. All we've got to look forward to for the winter is footy. So I'm going to start getting excited. The Crows are top 4, so what's okay.
That's a market I'm looking forward to betting into. Will Essendon make a final? Win a final this year? Laying that all day. You know what? You just reminded me. I haven't got a lay bin, but I'll probably have to put myself in the lay bin because I went and watched Carlton train last week, open training session, and I went to the session with my daughter. We went together, and the nuffy I am, I bought us both matching long sleeve Carlton jumpers, and we wore that to the game. To the training. That's a little bit much, pretty early, so I'll have to throw myself in the lay bin for that one.
And just for listeners, can you tell us exactly how old your daughter is and how ridiculous this is?
Yeah, she's just touched 4 months.
They put a couple of pieces of thread together for that, and you paid $50.
Yeah, honestly. But she looked very, very cute. Looking forward to going round 1. Do you take your baby to round 1? Your 4-month-old?
Yeah, with some
Richmond Carlton 90,000. With the cute little headphones on. All right, let's go into racing. We spoke about the track. I'm just going to jump straight into the Group 3 Zeditave Stakes, over 1,200 metres. Clance, what do you reckon is going to happen with the speed here?
Well, I'll let Trent talk to the speed at Caulfield. That's more his area of expertise.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, we touched on the track, but we didn't touch on the wind at Caulfield, which is going to be a northeasterly and potentially up to 35, 40k gusts, which at Caulfield, that's a headwind into the turn and out of the shoot straight as well. So it's going to be really interesting. Some of these races could potentially be run at slow tempos with a few horses looking to get cover. So it'll be interesting, just to see how quick they go and whether these leaders can run into that wind and still kick on. But yeah, looking at the Zeditave Stakes, I think Lofty Arch has drawn barrier 9. He's drawn the widest, but I think he's got a good early speed. He'll come across and probably lead. And he probably either leads or sits outside Polyglot, and then the others kind of take their spots in behind. But yeah, it'll be an interesting race because I think Lofty Arch is probably the horse to beat, but whether he can cross up and lead into the wind first up is going to be the query.
It's funny, isn't it? You get a little bit concerned about those wide barriers, but the shoot straight out at Caulfield is fantastic. That you don't even have to worry about crossing. Lofty Arch can be happily sitting out there, and because of that northeasterly, you actually, if he sits out a couple, he'll be getting a bit of cover coming into the straight before he actually turns. Obviously, they'll all cop the wind when they get into the straight, but it might not be the worst thing. I won't be playing heavily into this race, but Shardava has been really solid recently and just improving its rating every start. So that third behind Arabian Summer last start was really good. Obviously, Arabian Summer going to a much stronger race this week. And at $8.50, as we sit here on a Thursday, I think it's a nice each way bet.
But Trent, you're going to be going with Lofty Arch.
Yeah, I think I will have him on top, and we'll see what the late market bet with Betfair does with that kind of wind kicking up. But yeah, I thought he resumes here. He went to the Paddock a winner. He ran to 107 with Racing and Sports that day, and looking at kind of a typical Zeditave winner, that's bang on where you want to be. 107, 108 is kind of the median rating. For him to do that in his first prep and then go to the Paddock and resume here, I think it means that he can at least run to that level, if not improve this time in. I think there's not a whole lot of opposition. Tropicus is a nice horse, and I thought he ran well first up, but I think he probably wants further than 1,200 metres now. He's a little bit flattered by that slow tempo first up. Whether he's looking for 14 now, that's probably my query. And yeah, Shadavar I thought was probably the clear third pick in the race for me. But yeah, Lofty Arch on top, and we'll just see what the market does with him late.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing the market there. All right, the first Group 1 of the day that we're going to chat about, the Group 1 Futurity Stakes. We are going to see Mr. Brightside again. And I Wish I Win, Pericles, Tom Kitten, Light Infantryman, some really good horses here. Looking forward to talking about this one. How do you think they'll race, Trent?
Yeah, so it's interesting again. There's not a whole lot of speed like we saw in the Ore. Schwartz run straight to the lead and Mr. Brightside work for an outside barrier, sit outside. well, Mr. Brightside's drawn the outside barrier again here, but there's no Schwartz in this race. So if they want to, I think he could end up leading this, which again will be interesting with the win. But he'll sit up either first or second. Pericles probably kicks up as well. Private Life was handy in the Ore. He can go forward as well. He probably wants to just tuck in behind Mr. Brightside if he can, and Evaporate's probably there as well. And the others kind of get back. I Wish I Win's probably back and maybe needing a little bit of luck at some stage.
What do you think, Clance?
Yeah, I thought Pericles might just take the rail and go to the lead because, as you say, there's barely any tempo in this race. And Pericles' most recent trial did jump to the front and kicked on nicely. So I thought he might take the lead. Again, suggesting that win might play a role. Pericles can get a pretty easy lead here. But Mr. Brightside's going to be right there, and there's certainly no another will to chase him down this week. So he's going to be extremely hard to beat. Not that keen to take the even money or the 210 on offer here. So I'll just be playing Pericles very small to kick and run away with it. And the bigger bet that I'm keen to have is actually Tom Kitten in this race. Tom Kitten's career peak figure was first up over 1,400 last prep when we thought, oh, Tom Kitten's finally gone to the next level. And he looks extremely strong in two trials this time in as well. So main bet Tom Kitten, very small play on Pericles, but wouldn't be surprised to see Mr. Brightside dominate, given that there's a few second or third tiers in the race.
Mr. Brightside probably just lacked that little bit of fitness to get him over the line first up, and obviously got run down by another Will. You've gone some pretty nice value there, Clance. Tom Kitten is going to probably go around $12, Pericles $11. Anything else, Trent, maybe in the market that you could fancy? What about Light Infantry Man?
Yeah, I'd probably be against. The win in the Northerly was solid. He kind of got the favours there. His ratings before the win at Flemington during Cup Week was good. But I keep going back to Mr. Brightside, and I've actually marked him a fair bit shorter than the even money. I thought he was more $1.65, $1.70 chance. So there's a bit of edge there for me. We've actually got his first up run in the Ore. It's the best first up rating he's run in his career. He's run 123 there. Another Wheel's gone to a really big level. Like, that's a proper Group 1 performance that Another Wheel's put up there. They gapped third. And pretty much every run second up, Mr. Brightside has improved a length or so. And honestly, I don't even think he needs to off that first up run. So the wide draw again is a little bit of an issue. But if a wide barrier is the only thing putting you off a horse like Mr. Brightside at that kind of price, I'm more than happy to dive in, to be honest. So yeah, I think they'll really struggle to get past him. Geez,
definitely validating for people who want to be with Mr. Brightside there.
Fascinating one though. Just before we move on, I Wish I Win first up 1,400. What are we thinking there?
Yeah, I actually like him getting to a proper trip. He kind of got pigeonholed as a sprinter. He came out here, he was spruiked up as a Cox Plate chance. And then he ended up winning that TJ on a heavy 10 track where the pace just melted up front and he just stayed over the top of him. And then from then on, he's just suddenly turned into this sprinter where I actually think he's probably a miler, if not a 2,000 metre horse.
Yeah, wow.
So the camp have come out and said this preparation that they're going to get him to these kind of trips, 2,000s on the agenda possibly this time in. The run 2023 in the Memsey when he was 1,400 metres fresh, he was only beaten half a length by Mr. Brightside. That day he ran a good rating. So that has him in the mix. He's got to run to that probably a little bit better again to knock him off. But he's the only horse with a rating and the talent probably that I think if Mr. Brightside doesn't regress, he's the only one that can beat him. I just think he's probably about his right price first up, whereas Mr. Brightside thinks, yeah, he's backable at the even money.
How good will the racing discussion be then when I Wish I Win potentially goes out to 2,000? Everyone's going to be talking about, can he get that distance or not?
Well, it's funny, like this horse has been running around for quite some time now. I mean, we think we see him twice a prep a lot of the time. So pretty lightly raced horse. And I thought I was, getting to a 7, 8, 9-year-old now. It's a 6-year-old. So he's still got plenty of racing in him. So he's got plenty of opportunity to get out to those sort of trips and see what he's got.
And remember, one of his best ever career ratings, he won a Golden Eagle beating Fangirl over 1,500, a high pressure 1,500 metres. So it's not like he can't run a strong mile pretty comfortably. We just haven't seen him because he won that TJ as a sprint trip, and they've just kept him to that because there's so much money in the sprinting divisions.
Maybe an all-star mile for I Wish I Win.
That could be the plan, where he'll probably meet Mr. Brightside and Another Wheel, so that sets up to be a cracker.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. All right, the feature of the day, the Group 1 Blue Diamond Stakes for the 2-year-olds. It's an interesting race this year. It's obviously always a high-pressure contest. Talk to us about the speed here, Trent.
Yeah, so I think the playwright probably goes to the front for Gerwald's Adrian Bott. And then there's a few there that kind of want to just take their spots. Field of Play's drawn well. I think he probably lands somewhere in close to the 1-1. Devil Knight and Palm Angel from the kind of inside barriers. I think they'll kick up and be handy. It'll be interesting to see what they do with My Gladiola. They've come out and said that they want to ride her a little bit colder. She's ended up in front last start, and they think that she just got a little bit lost, and they want to have her give her something to chase down this time. So she's probably still in the first half of the field. She's got too much speed, but I think she'll be just off the speed, and Wiltshire Square can probably roll forward as well. And Tentris as well is probably right there as well. The others kind of look to find their spots back in the field. Well,
you got Field of Play, as you said, currently the favourite, and they've paid up to get into this race. I think it's $55,000 for your late nom. Surely that comes into it a little bit. The Bussin and Young camp must be pretty confident, Clancey.
Well, yeah, as you say, it's favourite. It's a $2 million race. If you're sitting there as the owners, what's 55,000 and a chance at winning this? So, the market would suggest a 1 in 5 chance at the big carrot. So 55,000 feels like something you should be paying up for. But as a favourite, there's still a lot of other chances around. I found it a really difficult race on a lot of unexposed form. Palm Angel, as Trent touched on, would be the one that I want to follow out of the fillies. It was a really nice turn of foot late, went past My Gladiola, and we're getting just above $9.50 at the moment on the exchange. So very small play there. Of the boys, I'm going to play a bit of a rougher one here in Autumn Mystery. We're getting about $80 on the exchange at the moment. Rocket at home in the fastest splits late in the Prelude, when actually had very little luck, so had to go through the field and weave through a few runners. So in a race where I don't have a lot of confidence, Palm Angel and Autumn Mystery will be the two I'm playing.
How are you playing the race, Trent?
Yeah, I've got My Gladiola on top. I think she can bounce back. She was really good on debut, winning the preview. She ran to 108 there and was clearly the best 2-year-old performance in Melbourne. Last start, she started at $1.95 in the prelude. She led. She was overrun there. It was, Palm Angel was clearly the better horse on the day. But I think she can improve again, and that kind of using the market and kind of trying to come up with an expected rating that she ran that day. It has her going to quite a good level again. So I think off that debut run, I think she can improve again. And if she is better chasing something like the stable seems to think, then I think she can bounce back. And yeah, just off that SP last start now, she's a very similar price to Palm Angel this time around. I think I'm going to have to butter up again and go with her.
Usually not really a favourites race, so it's going to be an interesting one for Betfair punters. I love looking at these races. I think I said last week, big field. Obviously, you're getting around that $4.85, $5 for the favourite. Maybe a little bit too pricey to lay the win, but I'll be looking to lay place a lot of these runners, and I think you can get some cash back that way. Do you ever play that way, Clancey, lay place?
Yeah, big fan of that actually. It's a good way to take on a horse that you think without actually putting up as much liability as you have to for a lot of the win markets. The beauty of laying something to win is only one horse can win, obviously regarding dead heat. But so if you start laying 5 or 6 horses to win, you don't have to have a stack of liability in your account because they start to offset against each other. Mm-hmm. That's one of the negatives about laying the place is that 3 of them can win. So you got to start having a bit more money in your account. But once you do that, it's really a great way to view because you start hoping for bad luck against 3 or 4 different runners, and you don't have to get it right to actually get paid. So it's a really good way to do it in these big fields. The Oakleigh Plate that we're about to discuss, perfect one for that. But yeah, looking forward to it. Blue Diamond's a funny one that I don't often have a big bet in the race, but I've just got Matty Hill in my ear every time I think about it on Artorias, just going pounces, bombs them and wins. And so for Trenners, I think My Gladiola might be the one if anything's going to do that in this race.
Yeah, you've done that really well, Clancey. And I like how you've brought up the Oakleigh Plate. We were just speaking before. It's a cracking race, massive field, handicap. It's one of those races where just anything can happen at any time. We saw I Am Me scratched late due to the downgrade of the track in the Black Caviar Stakes. We see I Am Me and also Mornington Glory line up in this one here. Speed's going to be very important for this one, Trent. How they're going to run?
Yeah, well, if you have to have a drink every time someone on the TV broadcast this week says they'll go like Oakleigh Platers, because you'll hear it 150 times. But to be honest, I don't think there's actually as much speed as some years. They'll still run along at a very strong tempo. I think Golden Boom, the Queenslander, probably can find the front with Insurrection. They're drawn alongside each other. I think they'll probably pair off in front. IME probably gets leaders back if she wants it with Nasrewilla. Brudenell comes across. Espionage, the Colt, can probably come across and race forward as well. She's Bulletproof, and Estriella I've got kind of just off the pace. They've said that with Estriella they're trying to potentially looking to ride her a little bit more quiet, which I think is maybe a little bit of a negative. We'll touch on that later. Arabian Summers, again, another one that's probably pushing up maybe in that 3 wide line. Hard to say. Ashford Street, probably the next pair, and Mornington Glory's there as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how fast they actually do go for this kind of race, because normally they absolutely fly along, but I'm not sure they actually will this year. I think it'll be just above average, but not crazy.
How are you going to play the race, Clance?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I just love these high contests. I mean, big fields, handicap races, they just come out so good. And for that reason, I always like to play a few of the roughers. She's Bulletproof is favourite in my market. But 550 is still unders, and that shows just like, I've got 850 the field. I think Espionage has looked an absolute beast in his recent trials after almost a year off the scene. Down on the 50 kilos, so serious danger at that $14, $15 mark. Also keen on a couple of the South Australian runners, believe it or not. Sharippa is one at around about the $11 mark or $12 mark now, that has produced some really nice ratings in the past. And there's one that is just forgotten, Prairie Flower, who has just been improving his rating every single start recently. Came to Melbourne last start for the first time in the Rubiton Stakes, and it was run at a farcically slow tempo, traditionally a horse that likes to get back and run on. And the likes of Ray Magnerio and Insurrection were in front in the run. Never really stood a chance to chase them down. And we're getting $60 here on Prairie Flower. So keen to play there, Sharippa and Espionage. So all big prices, but that is the way I like to play this race. In terms of laying the place, it's a perfect segue here, because Arabian Summer's the one that I'm really keen to take on in this race. I think his massive unders coming in off a nice win. It's $11 the win. Place is around about the 350 currently. So happy to lay anywhere near that $4 mark in a race where barrier 15 is going to get caught wide for a lot of the race, and would need to improve 2 to 3 lengths just pure ratings wise to actually match it with a lot of the top raters here. So laying Arabian Summer win and place, and then playing a few of those roughies.
Love it, Clance. And I'm loving all the backs and lays for this race. It's going to be a ripper. Trent, you're going to do something a little bit different?
Yeah, I get it's a race that you can play a few in. I think I've got She's Bulletproof favourite as well. Like Clance said, I think she's probably getting into, rock bottom sort of price. I've kind of got around the 550 mark, and that's what she is now. So I think Estriella is the one that's a bit too short for me, especially if they're going to be riding her a little bit more negatively. I think she needs to be up on speed and rolling along. She's got a couple of ratings that would go close to winning this, but she hasn't really quite gone on with it. And I'm not sure that she's this level that people think she might be, but myself included. I thought she was going to be this Group 1 mare that was going to be winning these sorts of races, but she hasn't quite gone on with it yet. So like I said, the one on top for me is She's Bulletproof, and I'm with Clance as well. I thought Prairie Flower was a big price coming out of that Rubiton Stakes. The splits there were suggested that she was probably as good as Ray Magnerio and Insurrection on the day. She gets down in the 52 kilos. I don't mind barrier 1 for her either. She's going to be it's going to be the all or nothing kind of run for her. She's either going to get held up and look completely luckless, or she's going to burst up the fence and get all the favours, which I kind of like for a horse at big odds, because you need things to go right at those sorts of prices. And the split she was running in Adelaide again was suggesting that she was sort of up to a decent level. So they're the kind of two that I'll be with, and I'll probably have something on IME as well. She's got the big weight, 57 kilos, but she's also got the ratings that put her bang on to win this. She maps perfectly. She gets Nash Rewiller on board, and if you were sticking up for her last week at 650 in a Lightning, and now she's almost double that in an Oakleigh Plate, yes, she's got the weight, but she's also got the class to do it. So they're the kind of three that I'd be looking to play around. Well,
I definitely was putting my hand up for her last week, and I'm going to be sticking with her. And just purely on that, I'll lay the favourite Estriella. I think of the two Kieran Maher runners, I'd probably prefer to be with the one at double figures there. So that's going to be my hamburger this week. We'll talk about that later. That's Caulfield done and dusted. We're going to have a little break. We're going to talk about what caught our eyes. We warned punters and this is what happened last week. If you think that some of these shorties in the market are going to get beaten, then obviously something at odds is going to get up. You're getting 40 to 1 with the corporates. They are not going to be $40 at Betfair. You're going to get close to 70 to 100 to 1 on these horses. So I'm just, for punters, you really just need to be clever and watch the Betfair markets late.
If you're looking to back a horse, $21 plus, just BSP.
Yeah.
Like, don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Like, just lock it in. Like, 9 times out of 10, it'll be better.
Well, I hope you followed our advice last week, because here are the prices from the Group 1s. On Betfair, you got $35.10 for Skybird. Net commission, that's $32.64. And on the corporates, the top tote price was $24.40. And the lowest price there was $22.90. We said that if you're against the shorties, and I'm pretty sure Nico Noonan said it exactly like this, 9 out of 10 times, it's probably more than that, almost 10 out of 10 times, a $20 plus horse on Betfair is going to pay much more. It was a huge price advantage. So it was a good call last week. Did anyone find Skybird?
Not even close.
That's the problem, isn't it? Yeah, like they pay bigger, but you got to find it. That's the toughest part of it. But good luck to all those Betfair punters that found it last week.
Yeah, well done to those Betfair punters that found Skybird, and they got a massive price advantage there. That's the main what caught my eye. The other one is Ultimate Driver Championship Part 2 with Ryan Spice and Will Norman. Tom Haylock also features. They're diving into to analysis of the Ultimate Driver Championship, which is coming up. So make sure you head to our Spotify channels and watch that if you're looking to find a winner for the harness. It's actually going to be really, really exciting. Hopefully you guys are going to be tuning in, watching the Betfair markets. Of course. No doubt. Clancey is going to be in his dungeon. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's price advantages everywhere. Going to continue to talk about them throughout the show, but we're going to go to Rosehill here. We're going to race on a good 4. The track is out 5 meters for the entire circuit. We're going to get around 28 degrees. How did we go last week in Sydney, guys? How did the track play?
I thought it played okay, to be honest. You probably wanted to be on speed, but that's just typical of any track really in Australia or the world. But hard up against the fence was potentially slightly inferior. They kind of came down the outside, but I thought it was mainly tempo related for everything there last week. Yeah.
And what do you think of the track this week, Clance?
Yeah, out that 5 meters or 5 minutes, as you might say, it's a perfect opportunity to find the rail and kick away. So Rosehill, the further you get out, the more difficult it is to make ground. So be sticking with the front runners if we can.
Well, Clance, I know you're pretty keen here. We're going to go straight to the Group 2 Millie Fox Stakes, 1,300 meters. I'll go back to you straight away, Clance. You're keen on Macarena?
Yeah, I think this will be the best of the day for me, just in terms of class prevailing and also just a perfect map for this horse. There's very little speed engaged, so Macarena should be able to cross from gate 8 and Watch My Girl to sit pretty close by. But there's just very, very few other speed influences in the race here. And the market would suggest that Electrica and Scarlet Oak are going to be the two biggest dangers to Macarena, yet they're going to be a long way off coming into the straight. So sets up really well. The set weights and penalties conditions has Macarena much closer in the weights to them than she would be under handicap conditions. So this just sets up perfectly, and I can poke holes in pretty much every other runner in this race. Scarlet Oak hit the line really nicely in a recent heavy 8 trial, which has probably got everyone sitting up and taking notice, because there's no doubt that it's an extraordinarily talented horse, but just has some really off days. And it seems like the days that Scarlet Oak shows up seem to be on those really heavy tracks, and that trial was probably another example of that. So a slow tempo is going to be a long way below her best distance and on a dry track on Saturday. So really happy to take on Scarlet Oak at that $4.60 mark early. I think she'll get out a lot bigger than that. Electrica was a huge win last start at the sunny coast, but that was back and wide on a decent tempo. Not going to get those same conditions here, and a class below. If there was any that I thought was a danger to Macarena, it would be Hinged at her best. And I know that trials aren't everything, but she has not trialled particularly well and looking further in the preparation than she is currently. So Macarena just ticks every box for me. She'll be the best of the day. She's into $2.40 now. It was originally $3.20 when I was doing this yesterday, but doesn't have a great SP profile in terms of coming into this race. So I'd be waiting and backing a BSP rather than locking in the $2.40 now.
You're pretty aligned with Clance? Trent?
Yeah, I am. I think Macarena's very clearly the horse to beat and sets up really nicely here. So she's got a couple of ratings that win this pretty comfortably. One of them, last preparation, Group 2, Time Honoured Racing in Sports, Golden Pendant winner. Ran a really good rating that day. She was down in the weights, but she beat the likes of Amelia's Jewel that day, ran to 114, which wins you, pretty much any Millie Fox Stakes in the past 15, 20 years by the likes of Zugotcha, Savatiano, and you don't have something like that here. So, I agree with Clancey. Scarlet Oak looks very short. The market's always had a big opinion of this horse. She came over off a New Zealand maiden win, and the market just smashed her. There was no figures to that New Zealand maiden win. She ran to 75 or something at Racing in Sports, and the market just had her going to a new level. So I've got a lot of respect for that, especially with Chris Waller runners. But 1,400 metres on a dry track at Rosehill just really doesn't seem her go. And yeah, I think Macarena, she'll just roll straight to the front and should be the one to catch. And like I said, I thought Hinge was probably potentially the danger at double figures. She can pull out a run or two on her day.
I like that you're both aligned there. I'll be following you guys. The Group 2 Silver Slipper Stakes. Clance, what's the speed doing here?
Yeah, this is going to be an absolute cracker, isn't it? I think speed-wise, Bell Mercy from 2 should try and hunt up and find the lead. Gambler is an absolutely fascinating runner here. A lot of X factor. Will be trying to get across and has shown a lot of speed in recent trials. If Bell Mercy steps slightly slow, like it can, Gambler will take advantage of that and get over to the rail. But then you've also got North England, who's drawn out wide, who would love to get to the front too. So there's going to be a pretty tactical battle there. But all things considered, if they all jump reasonably well, Bell Mercy leads, Gambler sits outside, and then North England has to decide whether it wants to press on and take the lead or sit either 3 wide or come in behind them. So it'll be fascinating there. And of course, there's going to be a lot of dialogue about what Karen McAvoy does on top of Woden. Drawn 11 of 11. Come under fire recently on some hot pot favourites, so it'd be really interesting there. For mine, I think there's no need to do anything other than just slide back slowly and try and find a 3 wide, a bit of cover 3 wide, and then try and unleash Woden coming down the straight. But it's not a race that I'm keen to tuck into. I actually would have been really keen to lay Woden at the $2 at the opening price yesterday, but already out to that 64.250. So. I'm much less inclined to be laying at that sort of a price. I'll be having just a couple of shekels on Alabama Magic at the hundreds. Was 61 on debut when ran into a really nice 4th from last, and there's a really nice place chance again at big odds. But it'll be a sit back and watch race for me in what will tell us a lot about the Golden Slipper coming up in a month's time.
But Trent, you're with the favourite here.
Yeah, I will caveat that by saying I'm probably going to be looking to bet back Woden late, probably Betfair starting price. If he does continue to drift, I kind of want to get closer to $3. It's a really interesting race. So the rating that he actually ran, the raw rating that he ran on debut was 103, which is pretty much in line with what Bell Mercy and North England have done. But it was the splits that he ran. So when we get a little bit creative with the sectionals and look what he did, we can kind of mark up his time rating to suggest that he could have run about 118 on debut if he was ridden, more efficiently. And
it was at 103 is the rating.
Is the rating, but it's got a big caveat with a big fat P next to it, saying that he will improve next time out. And when we get creative with those sectional markups, we're suggesting that he's 118 kind of horse.
So for listeners and viewers, what's the difference in lengths between 118 and 103 approximately?
It depends when you're kind of talking about different distances. It's probably around 3 to 4 lengths. Wow. Yeah, pretty comfortably when you're getting up to that sort of level. So we're suggesting that he could be at least 3 lengths better than what he's done on debut, and if he'd been ridden more efficiently that day, then he could have done that. The obvious query here is that this is not a grand final for him. He's probably going to go here into the Todman, into the Golden Slipper, so there's plenty of time for him to be peaking. Drawn wide for Chris Waller, he's going to be a long way back, and like we said, Rosehill on a fast track there's a lot to knock of him, but there's also a lot to like, and I think he's comfortably the best 2-year-old we've seen on those splits. There's a lot to get excited about. But I think there will be a lot of Betfair layers keen to take him on. And I think if we do get closer to kind of $3 on the day, I'll just have to grit my teeth and back him because I think he's too good.
Yep, really like that play from Trent there. He's going to wait for the best price late on Betfair and go BSP.
And just I touched on with this Gambler, that's Snowden in these young 2-year-olds has always been a favourite of mine. And this horse has been gelded, so did very little on debut, been gelded since. It's had 2 trials where they've just pushed the button and gone out and led by 8-10 lengths. And I'll be absolutely fascinated to see what happens here. I'm really hoping that we see the emergence of another good 2-year-old.
I'm just going to go straight into this conversation here. Hobartville, you are laying who, Clance?
I'll be laying broadsiding, without a doubt in the world. And there's a lot to be said for the fact that broadsiding's career peak rating is last prep, Golden Rose, Group 1, 1400, Rosehill, which has a lot of the same mirroring of this race. But I think broadsiding was going better at the time. And obviously we know Godolphin and James Cummings going much better at the time than they are now. And it's $2.15 with a lot of talent in this race. So it sounds like a bigger thing than it is. I think if you treat it like laying any $2.15, $2.20 pop, it's a lot easier to grit your teeth, close your eyes and hit the pink button. But I'm also really excited about the prospect of how linebackers come back. I think that's as much a story as anything. Was obviously underwent the gelding procedure and was strangely enough leading last start in the Eskimo Prince that I don't think really many people expected. Held on really nicely for second behind Public Attention, and 1400 metres is going to suit the horse so much better. But just showed us everything we needed to see in terms of had come back from the operation well and settled really nicely. Gets a 2.5 kilo weight swing from that race on Public Attention and all the main rivals there. So he's much better treated here at the weights. And we're getting $6 currently on the exchange to find out. I think that's a terrific bet. And the other one I'm going to stick with that I also backed last start in the Eskimo Prince that was poor is Just Party. It's about $65 at the moment. It was really heavily backed late. It was $20 into, I think, $10.50 in the last few minutes. So that was great to see that. It was back on the inferior ground and just didn't handle it well. The blinkers come off here, which I'm happy to see they've tinkered with some gear. So at a really big price, like $65, I'm going to be playing there. But main bet certainly linebacker, and we'll be laying broadsiding. Yep.
How do you feel about that, Trent? Laying broadsiding? Have you got issues with it?
It's bringing up some dark memories for me as I came in. Very confident first time on the show last year and laid broadsiding in the Golden Rose. And of course, he's pulled off his biggest performance and didn't win for the rest of the prep. He got knocked off at $1.70 in the Guineas next time out. So I kind of think he is a little bit short as well, but I don't really want to lay him again. Maybe that is a little bit of kind of the past influencing it there. But yeah, I found it tough to really find an angle here. I've got him clearly on top. I think he is the best horse in the race, but I want to see him come back and do it this prep. You know, he tailed off. The Cox Plate was a gutbuster run, and then he was clearly over the top at Flemington in the Carnival. From what I can see, he's trialled well. I do think there's a little bit of a query on him on a really fast track. There's not much of him looking at him. I'm not a types expert or anything like that, but he looks like a kind of prototype wet tracker. He's very small and compact kind of horse. So it'll be interesting to see if he can tick that dry box really at this kind of level. Public Attention and linebacker, like you said, there's not much between them in that run in the Eskimo Prince. There was an average rating Eskimo Prince. They ran to 100, or Public Attention ran to 112, which is kind of probably just on the lower side of a typical Eskimo Prince when you've got some good horses that have won that race. And, you know, they typically do well here. But, yeah, they both need to improve. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with linebacker this time as well, whether they do roll forward on him again or try and take him back and get him to chase something. So, yeah, not really an angle for me in this race.
I just want to ask Clance, what price does broadsiding need to be for you to want to back him?
Would have to be $3 plus. Yeah, yep. Absolutely.
Gee, so that's a huge lay because there's a chance that the horse could go odds on race day.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a chance. I'd be surprised. But having said that, it was absolutely hammered off the map in the Golden Rose. So you never know. But yeah, for me to back the horse with the concerns, would have to start with a 3.
Lovely, a confident lay from Clance. Well, that's all the races analysed here. We're going to go to the Hamburger Club. And unfortunately, for me, I Am Me was scratch. I laid Switzerland. I had Skyberg as my second pick, but you know, I forgot to bring it up
in the spreadsheet.
I see you've done something similar, Clancy. You've got a couple in your back column, but talk to us who your hamburger is this week, Clance.
Yeah, just covered it then. The Hobartville Stakes, linebacker main bet, and broadsiding my lay. I'll try and get that done.
Trent?
Yeah, mine's going to be in Rosehill, race 5. It's going to be with Macarena. I think she's the clear horse to beat. And Scarlet Oak, I think, is way too short, around that 420 mark or so. I think she's closer to a double figure chance, and I'd have Hinge second pick.
Take 2 for me. 2 Kieran Maher runners in my hamburger, but I'm backing I Am Me at the double figure price, and I'm laying Estrella. Hopefully firms a little bit, but I reckon that price is going to stay the same. So would like it a little bit shorter, but is what it is. Let's go to best bets, guys. Clancey.
Yep, it's Macarena for me. Really keen in that Millie Fox. Jumps to the front, doesn't give anything else a chance, and wins, backing at BSP.
And Trent, what are you doing for your best bets?
Yeah, I've got a couple at Caulfield in the undercard. I thought race 1, Pondalawi was, I've got her marked pretty much favourite with Tonkin. I think first up over 1,000 metres in the WJ Adams. She just got run off her feet. They went very quickly there, and she kind of got back on the inside, didn't have a whole lot of luck. 1,100 metres, she's got a win over She's Bulletproof, who I've got favourite in the Oakleigh Plate, and a second to Nian, so would have been a good chance in the Oakleigh Plate if she'd come up this prep. So yeah, Pondalawi on top for me in race 1. And the other one is race 6, the Mannerism. I thought Samana was probably the horse to beat there. I thought she was pretty good in the Or behind Another Wheel, Mr. Brightside. She was beaten 6 lengths, but she found the line quite nicely there.
Jeez, it was nice to see her come back, wasn't it? Because she really struggled in a few races, and then she really hit the night.
Yeah, I thought that was while she was beaten 6 lengths, I thought that was a pretty good effort, to be honest. So now she's third up. She gets a soft draw here, and Gringsinger Bell can put up a good. She's favourite, can put up a good rating, but she's kind of put up those good ratings when she's been leading and getting absolutely every favour, and I don't think she's going to get that on Saturday, especially with this win. So Samana should just track the speed there, and I think she can win. I think she should be favourite around that $4 quote.
The undercard is very solid at Caulfield as well. It's going to be a cracking day of racing. Looking forward to tuning in. That's all we got for the show this week. Just for punters out there, make sure you're following Trent and Clancey in the Betfair app to get their absolute updated, most relevant tips closer to jump. Set your notifications, and you're going to get a notification when they send those bets through. Otherwise, make sure you subscribe on Spotify or YouTube. Thanks so much for joining us again. This is going to be my last show for a couple of weeks. Tom Haylock is back. Everyone's probably very thankful for that, but I've enjoyed it here. Hopefully I get a hamburger this week to send me off, but good luck, punters, this week. That's another edition of Layback with Betfair.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.